Hi everyone, I'm Lisa from Down to Earth Gardening, and I'm out in the garden today. It's mid-October and the gardens are fading, as you can see here. So we like to get the most out of all of our gardens. It's the end of the season, so we're busy harvesting our vegetables and drying flowers, as you've seen in our drying flower video. But the other thing I really like to do at the end of the season is do some seed saving. So today I'm going to show you 4 easy annuals where you can save their seeds, and the easiest way to do that. So I have this patch here of the Benary's Giant Zinnia, which you've seen in our Zinnia video. And what I like to do is really wait for a nice, dry, hot day. So you don't want to do this after a rain. We've had a few dry, hot days in a row this fall, so it's a perfect time to do it. And you want to wait until they start really getting crispy, and that's when the seeds are ready. So I'm just going to show you here. There are some that are still green, and I'm going to show you the difference, because the ones that are green, what we're going to do is we're going to lie them out on a screen, and then we're going to dry them before we store them. So I'm going to walk you through it and show you the different varieties here that we're going to do some seed saving with. So here I've got a couple that are nice and dried. So I'm just going to put this in my bin. So really you just need a clean bin and a pair of pruners, or I have my scissors here. So I'm just going to pick some in some different stages so you can see the difference. Okay, I think that's good just to show you what I'm doing out here. This pretty amaranth is in the way here. So then you're going to flip it over and you're just going to kind of tear it apart. So the seeds are in there. So these seeds here, here's a nice dry one. When they're brown like this, that means that they're ready to store. So they're thoroughly dried. However, if you pull some of these others apart, they're harder to pull when they're not ready. So this one is definitely not ready. So you can see that they're green, and those are not ready, they're not dry. All right, so this is also at a good stage. It's pretty close. These are the ones that I'm going to lay out on the screen. So I'm really looking today, before we wrap up this garden, for any that are really dried. Those are the easiest to save. Or the ones that are pretty close, and I'm going to dry those. So I've determined that these, they're not coming apart very easy, so those really aren't at a good stage. So this is why it's kind of nice just to work in a trug or a plastic container, and then you can do your work here and then just kind of sort through what you want to keep and what you don't. So I'm going to work a little bit out here on the Benary's Giant, and then I also have a really pretty Queen Zinnia, which are really muted colors. I'm going to work on saving some of those too, and then I'll show you about storing them. They really store pretty well, and who doesn't like free seeds? So our next annual flower candidate in this garden is called Love in a Mist, which is a really easy to sow direct seed in the garden, and I think it looks really pretty in not just cut gardens but also in meadow gardens or cottage gardens, which you all know that I love. So I am going to show you some pictures of this when it was really shining this summer. It was this one was white and different shades of lavender leaning towards blue, really pretty delicate flower with some ferny leaves. It does also come in pink. So right now this is a perfect time to harvest. You can actually see it's still trying to throw out some little flowers. It's faded a little bit, but this is how pretty it is. But this one here, we refrained from cutting all of the cut flowers and left some of the blossoms so they would dry right on the plant so that we could save some seeds for next year. So you can just snip them off. So these are dry enough that these are ready to go ahead and store right in our jars. I use reused jars, recycled, just clean canning jars are fine. I love seed saving, the Love in a Mist, because I feel like it's just such an easy one to do. And to be honest with you, sometimes I have a hard time finding these seeds in the spring. Just peeling it apart here. So it's such a beautiful day in the garden. I'm going to go ahead and finish up harvesting my seeds here, and then I'm going to continue with a couple other annual flowers that are pretty easy to save the seeds. Hi everyone, I'm back with doing some seed saving with our flowering annuals. I love seed saving because it's really easy and it's really rewarding, and I love getting free seeds for my garden. A lot of my friends tell me that I'm seed obsessed. I actually have a file with seeds. But the next plant on the list of easy flowers to seed save using the drying right on the plant method is Cleome. And before I continue and talk about Cleome and our last seed saving plant for the day, I want to tell you something really interesting about flowers and seed saving. So many of our plants are hybrids, and a hybrid is when a plant is bred from some parent flowers, vegetables, or whatever, and it's bred for the parent's superior qualities. So that could be bigger flower, disease resistant, just general hardiness. So we have a lot of hybrids out there. And if you're saving seeds from a hybrid flower or vegetable, you may not get the same exact flower or vegetable. What typically happens is you will get whatever the dominant parent was. So if you want to be sure that you're seed saving and you're going to get the same exact flower, you want to use you want to do your seed saving with open pollinators. And so you look for that when you purchase your plants or you purchase your seeds to start with. So I'm telling you about it now because I just want you to know that if you have a hybrid, you may get something a little bit different. For me personally, it's more about having beautiful flowers in my garden. I'm not really feeling that particular about having a particular plant. However, if you are looking for something particular for your garden, or I have a lot of clients that they'll ask me to grow wedding flowers, or they want to grow wedding flowers, and it's really important to them to have that exact flower. So, so moving on with the segment, this Cleome is from a Queen's mix. It's the violet or purple queen, and it is actually an open pollinator. So this is a great one to save because I know this is exactly what I'm going to get for a flower next year. So they do have a queen mix, and the queen's mix will come in shades of pink, rose, purple, violet, and white. I planted the violet or purple because, you know, I'm a purple lover. But I started planting this Cleome. I think I bought the seed packets at least 4 or 5 years ago, and it's been in this vicinity ever since. But what I like to do when I do my seed saving is give the seeds away. They make great gifts or party favors. We did seed packets for my daughter's baby shower, which was really wonderful, a nice little keepsake. Or I can control where I'm going to plant them next year, because otherwise they just bounce around. So when I'm saving these seeds, I'm using the drying right on the plant method. So you wait until you have a dry, sunny day is best, but dry is important at the end of the season. And you can see where they're really just drying right here on the plant. So this one here has already opened up and dropped its seeds. And so some of these here, this is not ready at all. So you're looking for something in between. Here's a nice one here. The pod, you can see the seeds inside because it's cracked open a little bit. And in my bucket here, I've started collecting some for seed saving. So here's this one that we talked about. And you just see here where you just open it up, and if you have a tray or a bucket, you just go ahead and put them right in the bucket. And so I'm going to keep working at this, and then I'm going to show you my last flower of the day and quickly show you how I package them. Okay, I'm here with the fourth flower, that annual flower that I find is really easy to do seed saving with, and that is the sunflower. We can't forget about the sunflower, because the sunflower, you can do your seed saving and of course get your free sunflowers, but also you can harvest the seeds and save the seeds for feeding the birds in the winter, which is really great. Or they're also food for us. So I know there's a lot of recipes out there for brining and roasting. It's not something that I've done because, again, I'm more interested in growing my flowers and feeding the birds. But you can go ahead and try that and let me know how that goes. But for sunflowers today, what I planted in my garden this year and I really loved was a really pretty branching sunflower, and that was called Florenza. And I do like to tag my plants, so I remember what I've got, and if I like them enough, I'll plant them again next year. But my mom's name was Florence, so it's kind of sentimental to me. But it was a really pretty sunflower, not super tall, and like I said, it was a branching variety, so we're going to harvest that. This is a little piece. I had a huge mammoth sunflower head that I harvested, so I'm going to show you the difference because the size and the seeds are much different. But the biggest tip when you're harvesting the sunflowers is you'll notice at the end of the season they'll start to face their heads down. So of course they grow and their heads are shining towards the sun. Absolutely beautiful, looking for the sunshine. There's even a National Sunflower Day. People love them so much, they're so pretty. But the trick is you want to wait until the heads are drooping or looking down. So that means that they're really starting to dry, and you need to get out there and harvest them before something else does. So the birds will attack them. The deer in my yard have eaten quite a few, so you want to beat them to it. And if they're not quite ready, you can of course dry them. Like we've had our drying flower video. You can also dry the flowers and harvest the seeds. So I'm going to do the branching sunflower first, and I've got all of my materials out here, so I've got a little bit of a mess, but I do want to show you quick before I walk you through how we're going to store them. So really you're just peeling off any remnant of the flower, just kind of like scrubbing it off here, and then you can see the seeds. They're so beautiful. All right, there they are. Now, if you do find that your seeds are not completely dry, so this one does feel a little bit moist, you can lay them out on a screen or even a cookie sheet and just let them air dry before you go ahead and store them. So that's the Florenza, the branching sunflower. And for the mammoth, this is kind of fun to do with the kids because this feels a little bit like that bubble wrap. I feel like it's also a little like Zen meditating activity to harvest your seeds, but they really just pop right out. And you can go ahead and break up the large heads just to make them easier to handle, rip them apart, and then it's easier to pop the seeds out. So you can see just by the size of the seeds that the mammoth is a very tall sunflower with a large head versus the branching sunflower is much smaller, and you can tell just by the proportion of the seeds, which I think is so interesting. So now for storing your seeds, there's a couple ways that I've done it. I have used some recycled clean jars, or of course your canning jars are great. So just make sure that they're nice and dry. Or you could also use envelopes, purchase some envelopes. Envelopes are great because you can do some fun artwork on, and they're easy to write on. I have, gone on Etsy and ordered some really pretty seed packets for my daughter's baby shower, which I think I told you about. We made some favors, and that was a lot of fun. So there's a few different ways you can do it, as long as they're dry and they're kept in a cool, dark, dry place. So I keep them in a cupboard in my dry garage. They will be fine, and I found that I can keep them for a couple of years. So I have had these for a couple of years, and I'm going to tell you the mistake that I made is I didn't label it, and that's the next thing I want to talk about. I do of course know that they're sunflowers just because of the way they look, but I don't know what the variety is, so this will be a surprise. I've had this kicking around for a couple of years. So what you do want to do, whether it's going to be an envelope or it's going to be a jar, is you want to label them, and I like to put the date on them. So for my sunflowers, I'm just going to put Mammoth sunflower, and I also like to write the date. So I'm just going to do October of 2022, and that's it. You're just going to stick it right on the jar, and you're going to put your dry seeds in there. And that's going to be my supply, or part of, for next year. So I just want to quickly review. We did our zinnias, which I'm still working on, harvesting the zinnia seeds here. I did the Benaries that you saw me do in the garden, and now I'm doing the Queen's Mix, which I really love this year. And then we did our Love in a Mist, which is a really, really tiny seed, but I think these are very rewarding and fun in the garden. And then we went and we did our Cleome, which we did quite a few of those. And lastly, we did 2 different kinds of sunflowers. So those are 4 really easy flowers to harvest the seeds from, and again, the easy way is just letting them dry right on the plants and harvesting early fall. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you liked it, tap like, and if you would like to, subscribe for some future gardening fun with us.